So for excuse me, for all our finance wonks out there, we didn't really discuss the genesis of Ameriprise, and this might be kind of interesting to them. You know, it was originally American Express Financial Services, right?
Yeah, and prior to
And
that,
it gets,
IDS.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
but it gets spun out.
Yeah, it's great.
This is I would assume at its core a valuation question. Is that fair?
At its core, yes, but also it was a issue around an uprising where the advisors, the people who actually made the company money, were not getting the return from American Express, so to speak, that they expected to be able to continue to enhance the company. Or what was then Ameriprise Financial, right? What was then American Express Financial Advisors. So in any organization, you have this. Sometimes you have this issue where money comes in, revenue comes in through an area, and it gets siphoned to another area, right, to supplement something else.
Mm-hmm.
So
sounds like a business school.
And so what was happening was a few guys got together and said, why don't we go at this on our own, and let's build a brand or a company where the money that is being generated by the workforce, the advisors, right, is coming back into the company to make the client experience better. Yeah. So all these conversations were being had, and lo and behold, in 2005, we spun out of American Express. It was basically a Fortune 500 spitting out another Fortune 500, and it was one of the biggest success stories of that happening. And every X number of years from the anniversary, we have celebrations from that time.
Having all the leftover money that you guys kept.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. If I can get a lunch, meeting together and people actually eat lunch, that's a miracle in itself.
I think we have to remind everybody that with a lot of these businesses, like Ameriprise, it's a collection of entrepreneurs.
Right.
Right. All of these advisors and anybody out there who's worked for, I don't know how many of them there are in this country. That's at the end of the day what they're doing. They're effectively like small business owners.
You got it.
Maybe it's even more like a franchisee. Right, because you're receiving a lot of support.
That's what we call our independent. Independent channel. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And they pay a franchise fee.
Yep.
Right, and that's how they have their agreement. We have an employee channel, which they are employees of the company. But even anything where you have to build and grow what we call a book of business, right, which essentially is a client relationship set that creates a revenue stream, you are a business owner. Right. That's it. All stop. Right, your relationship to the mothership, right, being Ameriprise Financial, is different by virtue of that agreement you have with them, and that could change things like your, what your payout rate is, what percent do you make on the sale of a product, right? Whether or not your expenses are covered by the company or whether you have to incur your own expenses, right? So those are those levers that are different in what we call our sales channels. But ultimately, they are all business owners. Yeah. So where do I get my entrepreneurial spirit and my drive? From my dad, right? And he ran a business. And funny enough, before he got into financial services, he was in the telephone and interconnect, which was back then when
they don't know telephones.
Yeah, I know. When AT&T, this company that still somehow exists today, broke up through antitrust. Many of you may have learned that in another business class. One of the things that allowed is these companies to form that would allow them to sell phones. So rather than get your telephone, hardwired phone, guys, it may be rotary sometimes too. That thing that goes like this. You wouldn't have to buy your phones, the things that are on the desks, right, from AT&T. You could actually buy it from a third party. So my dad and his dad, my grandfather, pioneered one of the first businesses that did that in the New York metro area. Yeah. So that was a innovative idea at the time to start a business like that. No one else was doing it. And so that passion and that mindset has always been part of my childhood and part of me growing up, right? So I know I want to do something around that.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great.